Welcome back to the channel. We got another Jubilee reaction. Now today it seems like they're doing something different. Leftist versus liberal versus conservative versus MAGA, whatever. Four-way debate. I saw the thumbnail though. There's not a difference between conservative and MAGA. The two people I've seen on videos before are both 100% MAGA. So I don't know about all that, but we'll see how this breaks down because this can get very disingenuous very quickly. I will say this, when it comes to the conversation about Jubilee and what they provide, I do think they make good content. They have set a tone in terms of this type of conversational and opinionated, not opinionated in terms of having opinions, but opinionated to gather multiple opinions and multiple types of discussions in a video. And I do appreciate that. I ultimately think that constructive criticism and how they operate can be fine, but the people who just crap on them, I hate the hollow voices on the internet that just crap on platforms, big platforms, without really thinking their criticism through. With that said, we're gonna watch this. We'll see how this kind of structure works. Maybe I'll even give my own constructive criticism. Who knows? Jubilee may see a clip from me. With that said, let's dive right into it.
Agree with this. They'd say that Brian Thompson says recession fears and Elon Musk batter Trump's approval rating. The article says a liberal. My name is Luke.
This is not a conservative, he's a MAGA, so I don't know why we're pretending. I've seen him in multiple videos just defending Donald Trump. So I think it's too MAGA up here, and I think he's going to showcase himself being MAGA. But we'll see. We will legitimately see if he has true conservative values.
And I'm a conservative.
My name's Naima, and I'm a leftist.
My name's Chandler, and I'm MAGA.
This article says
This kid is a brainwashed MAGA bot. She's 100% a pretty left progressive. He's MAGA. I don't care. I don't know anything about this guy.
recession fears and Elon Musk batter Trump's approval rating. Is Trump causing a recession? 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Oh, this is kind of an interesting format. You already got the topics on the right side. I like that. And then everybody indicates whether they agree depending on their viewpoint. I really doubt these two, the conservative MAGA, are going to disagree on anything. I'm legitimately curious if we do. Maybe the Trump Putin one will be the ones that disagree. We'll see.
I'll jump in. I don't think that we're in a recession, but I think Trump's erratic and unpredictable economic behavior is damaging the economy. You can see it in multiple indicators. The S&P 500 was down 10% this week. The Atlanta Federal Reserve said the GDP is going to contract in Q1, and you can draw a direct line between Trump's flip-flopping on tariffs and the stock market crashing, because we can all agree businesses thrive in a predictable environment. You need to know how many resources to allocate where, at what time. And when
Good
Trump is creating
points.
such an unpredictable economic environment, yeah, it's going to hurt the stock market. Yeah, CEOs are going to come out and say, this is not good.
One thing about the stock market is
I swear to God, if he says all the MAGA talking points, man, I think he will. Some of the MAGA talking points I heard before he talks is that Donald Trump, by doing what he's doing right now, it's making it unpredictable, allowing America to gain leverage on all these other countries. This is one talking point I heard without no factual basis behind it. So I feel like that might come up.
is a gauge at what we call micro horizon of where the economy is going to be in a short-term gain. Trump's approach to the economy is, instead of using the word recession, I use the word detox. He's trying to reset this economy of terrible 4 years that we've gone through, and his stance on tariffs.
Bro, I swear to God, MAGA is so brainwashed. It's just so funny. Like, I feel like if this was Joe Biden, and I hate using that because MAGA does it all the time because they're brain dead, but I feel like if we're talking about Joe Biden, myself and Democrats would all criticize Joe Biden for ruining the economy. I feel like it's okay to criticize someone who's doing bad things. I don't know why it just everything that you spin is good on one side and bad on the other side. I don't know. I don't know how these people look at themselves in the mirror every day and think about them doing. Think about what they're fucking Mary Deport is crazy. Think about what they're doing is okay.
Goes back to that long-term game. He wants to have a medium to long-term gain for the average American. He's not focused on making our next 2 to 6 months great. He wants the
So 6 months is going to be shit for everybody, but 6 months from now. First, it was when it comes to Trump's term, it was the moment he got there, he's going to fix the economy. Now it's 6 months from now, he's going to fix the economy. Gotcha. And then when it's 6 months, it's going to be 2 years from now, he's going to fix the economy. Gotcha.
the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years to be great. And I think setting up tariffs like that, it is going to be a situation where it is a detox. It's going to get probably going to get a little worse before it gets better because he has a lot that he has to reset.
When Trump announced his tariffs, the auto industry, the big three in the auto industry, had been very much against Trump's tariffs, just because a lot of the suppliers of the materials that are used in the auto industry and in American manufacturing are sourced from Mexico, and there are no American suppliers of those things. So when Trump first announced his tariffs on Mexico, the Dow dropped by 1,300 points. So how do you reconcile that as not being the direct cause of what could potentially become a financial recession?
Well, I think the reason that we see this is that for decades now, we've been exporting manufacturing, exporting these various goods to other countries instead of performing these
It's crazy. The first time I heard this kid, I thought he sounded pretty smart. Then now he just sounds like a guy on social media just repeats talking points.
actions within our own country, so much so that companies have gotten used to the affordability of it and the ease of access of it, of saying, oh, hey, we don't have to spend all this money to do it in America when we can do it somewhere else, because we had so many states and our country as a whole where it was difficult to do business. It was expensive to do business. Now, with Trump potentially levying these tariffs, and the great thing I say is potentially is that so many of these tariffs are more so bargaining chips, and they haven't really been placed in most places yet against Canada or Mexico that have actually resulted in these tariffs being charged. For instance, we saw it with Canada. Canada actually, in various places, and not in every place, but with certain tariffs, particularly with energy between Ontario and America, they actually reduced their tariffs. And certainly there's going to be some back and forth going on, and the new Canadian Prime Minister might say, oh, hey, well, we want a 90% tariff on this. Trump's
That's a weird way to contextualize that situation. They enacted tariffs after the Donald Trump first enacted tariffs, and then they both had negotiations to both of them pull back tariff. Now, initially, the Canada put in place reciprocal tariffs after Donald Trump put his initial tariffs in place, right? And then they wanted to do an additional tariff, but Donald Trump said, if you do this, we're going to do an additional tariff. And then they backtracked. So there was no negotiation of any tariff that was the status quo that got reduced. No, they just stopped from doing an additional tariff that they were going to put on after Donald Trump put his first tariff on to the country. It's I don't understand why we play all these games to make it seem like everything Donald Trump does is good. I don't understand. I don't get why we do that. It is it's so cult like, it's so brainwashed. I have to watch a Disney movie to reclaim my hope for humanity when I watch bots like this. It's hard because I want to engage with these people in good faith, but they are gone. Their mental capacity, their individuality is deteriorated. It's
saying, okay, well, we're going to match that tariff rise. This is kind of a back and forth trade war or trade negotiation that we've seen from Trump in his first term, and I imagine we'll see it throughout the rest of this term.
it didn't work
as
in
he
his first
works
term
to,
either.
as Luke very aptly said, detox what has been the last 4 years of pain for our
It's crazy. They are trying to use a different term to make it seem like it's not as detox. Detox. Get the fuck out of here, boy.
economy. And you might see a little bit of stock market shifting, but you kind of always see that. I mean, I
It's
don't.
not shifting, it's going down.
It's going down
Yeah,
a
that's
lot.
not a shift.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
thing is,
but we aren't talking. We're talking about the stock market, but we aren't talking about things that actually affect most
Yeah,
people.
so-
Like
I hate MAGA. Oh my god. So the stock market going down is now not a big deal because I
Consumer price index, inflation, more indexes of like egg prices, gas prices. These things are going back down, and the inflation is going down.
No, they're not.
They are.
Egg prices
right
have
now.
skyrocketed since Trump took office. Here's okay.
Yeah,
So
so
you're,
When's the last
that's-
time you bought
yeah.
eggs?
you're
So
right
here's
that
again let me he might respond to this. I'll let him cook. If he doesn't say certain bits of information, then I will kind of fill in the holes. But I think I'm gonna let him
Can I
cook.
say really
Go
quickly,
ahead.
you're right that the stock market is just one indicator, but the idea that Trump is doing this purely to reshore manufacturing is not even backed up by Trump. Trump has played these weird tariff games where he says, I want less fentanyl at the border. And then after there's less fentanyl, he completely switches his stance. He has no coherent
because
goal with
he
them.
achieved what he was trying
But
to get.
at the same time, so
No,
if he
he
achieved what
didn't.
he's trying to get, why did he replace the tariffs on Canada? That's
Because
He achieved what he's trying to get. If you're talking about more border security, then yeah, he achieved that. If that's what he's referring to, more border security, then sure. Less crossings, then sure. If that's the achievement he's referring to, I think that's the achievement he's referring
entirely
okay, so he's
inconsistent and
talking about
incoherent.
something completely different there, and that's the exact point you're making. For instance, the original tariffs we were going to place on Mexico and Canada was about fentanyl and was about illegal immigration.
They clearly weren't because Trump then
well, yes,
replaced
exactly.
tariffs.
Actually, they were because right after he placed those, or was planning to place them, the Mexican president announced, "Oh, we're going to be placing soldiers at the border."
This is an entirely terrible talking point for a few reasons.
Oh, I think he's gonna respond to this. Because he didn't respond to the egg thing, let me respond to that in his behalf. So the egg prices themselves, Donald Trump didn't do anything to reduce the egg prices. They were going up, 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 up the moment Donald Trump took over. However, if we add context, of course, that's in due part due to the bird flu epidemic. Now, Donald Trump has done nothing to deal with the bird flu epidemic. However, it has been declining. They've been trying to deal with it, and that is helping the egg prices go down. So, him himself hasn't done anything, but it's the egg stuff is mostly due to the bird price epidemic. As for gas prices, he hasn't done anything to reduce that. Um, Grocery prices, yeah, that has not gone down, so that was not true. So yeah, again, they're just trying to give Donald Trump like, these weird W's. At least give me something concrete.
Reasons. Number one, all of the concessions that Trump got from Scheinbaum and Trudeau had already been conceded months prior. That 1.3
Oh yeah, he's saying exactly the right stuff. I know exactly what he's talking about. Good job.
billion-dollar bill that Trudeau introduced had been introduced in December of 2024. You can look this up on the Canadian website. The same thing with Scheinbaum. Actually, Biden got 15,000 troops to the border in his first year. And I just want to say that if Trump is trying to reshore manufacturing, the
All right, so he completely destroyed that wannabe. What's a wannabe? Oh man, I want to say some terrible stuff, but he completely destroyed that kid who knows absolutely fuck all. He just goes on social media, in regards to the stuff with Canada and Mexico. So I'm glad he pointed that out because that's absolutely true. I don't need to repeat it. Good job, good job, Team Liberal. Liberals winning right now.
the strategy that you take is leaving a grace period. Doesn't it take 6 months to a year for American companies to build these manufacturing plants, to hire workers? If he's actually trying to reshore manufacturing, as you claim, leave a grace period. And also, you said that Trump isn't being unpredictable. It's more about consistency. Would you call Trump's tariffs thus far consistent?
I didn't say he's being. I didn't say anything related to him. I just said most businesses would thrive with consistency.
So let me rephrase. Do you think that Trump has created an environment that's consistent for businesses to thrive?
For short term, no, because he's looking at a long-term goal.
Well,
And
This guy's magging this guy. Why did you bring this guy on? Jubilee, okay, this is a criticism from Jubilee. Jubilee, you have the enough knowledge and cachet to understand where certain people lie. Like, you've done so much content where this guy is a stark defender of Donald Trump and a stark MAGA defender. You could have legit brought on a real conservative who has real criticisms of Donald Trump, like freaking Tom Bu, who voted for Trump. I think that was a stupid decision, but he at the very least is a conservative that has real criticism of Trump. So you could have done something real. Instead, You brought in two MAGA people, and this guy just says conservative, even though he is MAGA. Like, in every intents and purposes, he's MAGA. So, Jubilee, that is lazy booking for this show. That is lazy. I like the premise, but you did not bring in the proper personnel to really make this premise as good as it can be. Because I do like the idea.
What
You
is the
guys,
long
I mean,
term
I
goal?
wanted to touch because I'm focused more on recession, relating that back towards the
Can I ask
United
one question really quickly?
when I'm done, yeah. So bringing it back towards the United States economy, you guys were talking about egg prices skyrocketing. Egg prices have gone down to I think $6.85 a dozen, which is $1.20 less than what they were a few months
Where?
ago.
Down from what though?
What
Yeah,
do you
so
mean it's
actually,
the national average right now.
That,
Same
what
thing
was
with,
the national average at when Trump took office and over the past
but
month?
see, I'm not looking at a we can blame him
so
for
the
this. I'm
national
looking
average
at where
when
we're at
Trump
right
took office
now.
was about $6.50. Now they're actually down to $5.50 in just about a few weeks. And the reason we saw the egg prices go up, and I don't know how far we
All right, let me fact check because this guy is a pathological liar. So I'm gonna have to fact check this. He just looks up stuff on social media. National average. I think national average for egg price. I'm gonna continue the video while I look
want
this
to
up.
get into this was because we had the H5N1 virus
course,
that
yeah.
started in 2022, and the Biden administration did next to nothing about that. On top of all the various other squeezing and regulations that were hitting farmers, these chickens had no choice but to catch the virus and then get killed. 58 million chickens have died, thus causing a sort of supply and demand issue where, hey, everybody wants eggs. Oh my God, there's no chickens left to make the eggs. We have these chickens finally starting to get hatched and finally starting to be of age where they can produce eggs again. That's what's going to cause those prices to go
So
down.
if we know that there is a flu that is affecting the
There
amount
was.
that okay. So if we know that there was a flu that is affecting the amount of eggs that chickens can produce, why would you place tariffs on a huge manufacturer of our resources in terms of food?
To reshore manufacturing, bro.
Like, that doesn't make sense. If there's already an issue in which we have less eggs, why would you put more taxes on eggs?
Because
from
our
other countries?
priority is
So I just went on a quick website, eggprices.org. Shout out eggprices.org. So when Donald Trump took over, the egg prices were about $8, around $8. Right now, or I'd say it's more like it was like $7. Current price as of April 2025, the average price would be about $5.17. The highest price was in March, so a couple weeks ago, $8.17. So yeah, it has lowered to around $5-ish dollars. Not so I think that's a W. Again, I still don't think Donald Trump has done anything to really lower it, but I'm also one of those people who doesn't think I don't blame Donald Trump for it. I don't think this is a good argument for or against Donald Trump or Joe Biden. It's literally the same conversation regarding COVID-19. Like they're either of them are really not to blame on like how bad it got and prices going up. It was an epidemic. Bird flu not as much as COVID, but it's a similar principle. Donald Trump did everything with COVID, the prices went up and then Joe Biden had to take over and deal with those repercussions. Same thing happened here. The crazy part is I'm willing to admit that it's not Donald Trump's fault and it's not Joe Biden's fault, but MAGA, that bot right there, was immediately was like, oh yeah, it's all Joe Biden's fault because they're fucking brainwashed. So
America, and our priority is the
But if your
American
priority is
people.
America and there's an issue with supply, why would you make it
Also-
harder to get that supply?
Does it not bother you guys that Trump's main promise was to lower prices on day one, and both of you guys just gave the argument that, hey, maybe in 6 to 12 months after some economic pain that
that's a
Trump
good
and Elon
point.
Musk are completely insulated from, by the way, wasn't Trump's promise to lower prices on day one?
Well,
Yeah,
prices are
and
lower. I mean, the price of
prices
gas is
literally
at
are
the
lower.
lowest since
The
2021.
Target CEO just came out and said that prices are going to have to go up. Even Tesla just wrote a letter to the Trump administration saying, dude, our cars are going to be hurt if you actually tariff Canada for no reason.
Trump just republished an op-ed called "Shut Up About Egg Prices." Like, what are we
Literally.
talking?
Okay, again, let's add some context, right? Because these MAGA bots are just being MAGA bots. There's nothing that they can allude to in terms of anything Donald Trump himself has done to lower prices. Everything was already going down because of Joe Biden's policies and Joe Biden's economics. However, the moment Donald Trump started enacting policies that affected the economy, it has negatively affected the economy, which of course is tariffs and cutting and firing a lot of people, right? So inherently, in terms of things that he has done to lower prices, there's none. You can't pick anything other than him being in office. But everything was already going down. Now everything's gonna start going up because of things he's done. So it's called context. It's called utilizing your brain to understand actions leading to a consequence, cause and effect. You need a cause to give someone credit to the effect.
Talking about.
Yeah, but we're seeing prices are going down. The price of gas is the lowest since 2021, and we're also seeing the CPI this past month was 0.2%, which was substantially lower than what it was estimated. And we even see liberal networks like CNN speaking out how the economy is getting better.
Again,
if you have a progressive channel like that, then that means things must actually be getting better.
I'm going to take the position, and you guys aren't going to like this. Biden handed the economy to Trump on a silver platter. If you look at any of these,
Yeah, shattered silver platter, man.
I hate MAGA so much. It's just the reality. It's just the truth that the economy was improving under Biden. There, like, it doesn't even make sense to just think that Donald Trump improved the economy in a month, and you don't. And his tariffs actually have been hurting everything. I just don't get it. I don't
name me
understand.
one indicator that isn't on a consistent trend from the Biden presidency. Is there one? Did the unemployment growth on January 21st randomly or did the unemployment randomly drop on January 21st? Is there an indicator that's not off of the back of what Biden was already building with his plans?
Yeah, so I can give you something that Biden destroyed. We had oil production, and oil production is something that's very important within our country. It obviously is our energy
I'm gonna let this kid respond to this. This one's a layup.
independence. It's something that goes into the gas prices. On day one, Joe Biden placed numerous regulations and executive orders to halt so much oil production in our country that while we were still growing our oil production, we had a 4% average growth rate during his presidency. Meanwhile, during the Trump presidency, we saw between 11 to 13% average growth rate during those years. That is a very major indicator of, oh my gosh, there's a problem. And that's why we saw, on top of numerous other factors, the gas prices get so bad. And you know, we talk about the stock market and we talk about these tariffs. These things aren't actually here yet. They aren't actually hurting Americans yet. And the point that Luke and I are...
Because he keeps pausing them. Why does he keep pausing them?
Because he's a negotiator. He's a businessman.
But if it's such a good idea, why would he keep...
What's the concession he's trying to get from Canada right now? Okay, so we've talked about this. At first, it was fentanyl. But then you said he switched the concession that he's trying to get from
All right, let me respond to that other point. So that got the point about him putting regulations on oil. Well, most of it is to protect the environment. Oh my God, protect the environment is so bad. Well, let's be very clear in terms of energy production, oil production. The America still was #1 in the world, so that actually did not change. Now, it wasn't doing as much as Donald Trump. Sure, but we're still #1. The reason why gas prices went up was not because of the regulations to protect the environment, because people actually like the environment, but it was because of the war that was going on. You know, the war that's happening in Ukraine that affected a lot of gas prices. That's why gas prices went up. So, nice try, bro. It's just like, ugh.
Canada and Mexico. What is it now? What's the concession he's trying to get?
The concession he's trying to get, and it's numerous things. So, for instance, one of the tariffs that we're talking about right now is steel. Steel is Canada is one of the largest exporters of steel to our country, and something that we're really trying to work on is, as Luke mentioned, get our manufacturing back together. And you're making this whole joke about, oh my gosh, shore up manufacturing.
It takes time, man.
Yeah, actually, I do want to know, what is the plan to increase American manufacturing?
In one month, every company is going to build a manufacturing plant in every city, and they're going to hire all of these.
Well, we're not making the argument that it's going to be instant. We're patient.
But what is the plan?
Okay, the plan
It's
is
concepts of a plan.
There are real concepts of a plan, and they're going to come through.
So what are
they? Okay, well, if you let me say it, we have numerous companies. For instance, we have Intel and numerous other companies that are announcing they're going to be opening manufacturing plants. TSMC opening manufacturing plants in America to create chips. A whole lot better than the so-called Chips and Science Act, by the way. These are tangible things that are going to be happening. I believe it's either Toyota or Honda that announced that they're opening yet another manufacturing plant here in the United States.
All things that were previously announced that Donald Trump tried to take credit for, that they already had things in mind, or that there was a lie thing that they're going to open up a manufacturing company in response to Donald Trump, but in reality that was not true, and they debunked that. So I mean, a lot of this, what this guy is saying, I always have to, take it with a grain of salt. As for the chip stuff, there's companies that are investing heavily into the government, and investing to build certain things into the country. Now, it's a wait and see whether or not that's going to be a good thing or bad thing for the country, because investing into the country does affect the national debt negatively, because these investments have to be paid back. It's an investment. It's not something that is, oh, we're just going to give you money. And they're going to want these things, these manufacturing plants for these chips. We'll have to see if that's going to benefit the economy or is that going to hurt the national debt. I don't know. I'm iffy on that, but that is a pros and cons. That is a risk to reward. That is, it's you either like this or you don't type situation. That's not so that I'm not upset if you think those are good things, but we don't know if they will be. Because something that I found out recently is that a lot when it comes to the national debt, the reason why we have such a large national debt is not only debt that we have to other countries, but debt we have to businesses, to people who take investments or loans from the government in something called like T bills or something like that. So those investments into the country are things that need to be paid back, and they are paid back, which is why the national debt is so goddamn huge. So we'll have to see if this kind of plays out or if this is going to make the debt worse.
United States to bring in materials from other places, but assemble them here in America. And the real point is we're trying to get even higher up on that river of production. So for instance, the Canadian steel goes into so many things that we use on a day-to-day basis that so many Americans say, well, hey, companies, it would be better for America as a whole, manufacturing jobs that Americans can have that increase our economy, increase our GDP, things of that nature, if we had that manufacturing here in America instead of, hey, say, let's do it in Canada.
I just think what you said right there about chips and manufacturing, like, that's not what Trump's saying. If we check this Truth Social right now and we checked what he said about Canada over the past week, I can guarantee he's made 19 jokes about Canada being the 51st state and Trudeau being a governor. He has, and you're proud of that.
I wouldn't say I'm proud of it, but I don't have to take it so serious.
What's his end goal? You don't think you should take that seriously?
You don't think you should take
the
words of
U.S.
so
president
seriously?
showing the same imperial ambitions that Vladimir Putin is showing?
I'm
over in
saying
Europe
I
right now?
don't take him saying, oh, the 51st governor of Canada seriously, just like I didn't take people saying Joe Biden is, I'm not even going to go there. So many things people said about Joe Biden.
Yeah, you don't have anything because you sound like a fucking idiot. It's crazy how MAGA just ignores the terrible shit he says, then comes up with a convoluted reason why what he's doing is good, but doesn't really have the honesty and the integrity to at the very least say, yeah, him trying to call Canada the 51st state is not good. He said it multiple times, and he was pretty serious about it. It's not just a joke. And the other kid is right. Let me cut the video.
And I said,
So
okay, listen,
27
I'm not
minutes
going to
in.
take
Let me.
that.
But that's not what
video.
Joe Biden is saying. I'm saying he's saying the president of the United States of America is absolutely saying that. Why should we not take what the president says at face value? Also, it's fair to support a president without supporting every single thing they do. You do not have to blindly just accept that this is okay and continue to wait and wait and wait for it to work out. This is a bad idea. It's not working.
I mean, if things actually were bad, and I can man up and I could admit that, but again,
No, you can't. Shut the fuck up. No, you can't. Shut up. No, you can't. No, you can't. I've seen you in so many of these. You have not manned up and accepted something Donald Trump has done is bad a single time. You're a liar, and I hate people who just say things that are just not true. No, you
we're
can't.
2 months in things that Trump
I'm gonna skip
vision
this
off.
because this guy is
Opposite.
Yes, but
fake.
just how like you've said that we can't look at, oh well, in 6 months it will be better. Well, you guys are doing the same thing, saying, well, it's getting bad, and in a couple months it's going to be bad. We don't know whether it's going to be good or bad.
It's bad right now. What are we talking about? Oh, we're just gonna ignore the stock market? Oh, we're just gonna ignore how our allies are trying to put retaliatory tariffs on us? Oh, we're just gonna ignore the fact that we're people. Bro, I can go on a tangent. I can go on a tangent. Like, I guess everything Donald Trump's done is good. There's nothing bad he's done right now.
You guys
God
can
damn
assume
it!
based off of what you believe, and we assume based off of what we believe. And
Shut
until
up.
it actually happens, we just won't know.
It's happening right now. Shut
Who
your
is
butt ass up.
Mahmoud Khalil, the anti-Israel Columbia University activist ICE arrested? Should Mahmoud Khalil be considered a terrorist? 3, 2, 1.
Oh my goodness. I need to be a little bit more composed. Like, I'm so mean sometimes, but it's just. I have to meet these people where they're at. I really do. I have to be professional. I have to be considerate. I have to be compassionate. I need to do a better job at that. I need to bring out my inner Disney. and really do a better job at that. Honestly.
Whoa. We all agree.
That's beautiful.
Who wants to jump in?
I will
Wow.
go. So I don't think he should be deemed a terrorist. That is because a terrorist is somebody who has.
Oh, I feel like he's about to rationalize him getting deported. I feel like he's about to rationalize it right now. We'll see.
Enacted a state of violence with an intention of coercion or intimidation onto another government. Where we might have a little bit of disagreement is he is right now he was arrested, he's being investigated, and he's up for potential deportation. I believe he was from
He was.
Syria.
Yes.
I do agree with that. The reason is the president has the ability to deport an immigrant, that is, whether it's on a green card or a visa, whatever it might be, if they pose as a threat to the country. The reason why I believe he poses as a threat is because he's come out with not just pro-Palestine, that's another thing, but he's come out with pro-Hamas rhetoric, and Hamas in itself is a terrorist organization. He's outwardly supported.
Isn't that just allegations, though? Isn't that. Hey, if he's a terrorist, then I don't feel sorry for terrorists. To be very clear there. I actually have a backbone and integrity. I can say things without, being cookie cutter. Okay? I just want a due process. I just want a investigation. I don't think one is happening. I don't think we've had due process. I don't think any actual evidence has been presented of the allegations being elicited right now. But I'm curious to see what the
That.
the other side says.
He has put together groups to outwardly support that. And in the state of where we're at, in the state of the world, in the state of the country, I think that is the wise decision. Because, you can play the devil's advocate of, well, he hasn't done something, but if he's outwardly shown evidence and outwardly expressed potential future of doing something, I think that is the wise decision.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
If we're going to deport people who are threats to our country and spread anti-Semitic propaganda, can we start with Elon Musk?
I was about to say that.
That dude
I mean,
Sieg Heiled.
literally just
He
Sieg
Sieg Heiled
Heiled
twice, but also
Okay, we can't talk about this because
there's too
so
much.
many liberal politicians that have done the same.
Sieg
Not the
Heiled?
same thing. No.
No.
Kamala like
He
waving
didn't
to
Sieg
his
Heil.
crowd.
Okay,
He
listen,
did.
this
Yes,
is,
he did.
and it's so funny. I'm gonna use something against y'all. If y'all are gonna say he's Sieg Heiling, then you're both ableists. Elon Musk has Asperger's
What?
syndrome. He doesn't really, he's not always cognizant of how things are looking or what that looks like from the external perspective.
Can I ask another real question though? Does it ever worry you guys that Trump labeled Mahmoud a threat to national security, correct?
Yeah.
And they're using that justification. What if the next administration has a completely different definition of what a threat to national security is, and they think that, I don't know, like a January 6er is a threat to national
Well,
security?
here's the
Well, I
Isn't
think
this a
thing,
slippery
they
slope?
did.
supporting an outward terrorist organization kind of is worthy of being deemed that.
But I'm saying, I think that is a threat to national security, but if the president is the one deciding who is a threat to national security, unilaterally, it's kind of scary, right?
Well, I
Isn't
don't
that a
think-
slippery
Well, I don't think
slope?
the
I think
president's
it
the one
is.
deciding.
But he is the one deciding. I mean, he's actively been
he
deciding.
Donald
has-
Trump was the one who, yeah.
Well, he has the ability to, I guess, push for the investigation, but he's not the one that's actually making the decision.
So who is
There
he?
was not
who
a si- there was
decided-
Yes,
not a
he
single
is.
change in
He is
policy.
making
So can I
that judgment.
ask who decided that Mahmoud Khalil should be detained? Like whose decision?
And what was he
that?
charged? Wasn't he not charged with anything yet?
Like Mahmoud Khalil
I
has
think it's
not
still, it's still
actively.
being investigated.
Isn't that
He's never
weird that-
committed a crime.
Yeah, let's be very clear. Again, if he is guilty of everything that is being alleged, then I don't feel sorry for him. The problem is he hasn't been charged, one. Two, and none of the allegations have been proven. And matter of fact, they wanted to send him off sooner, but a judge stopped them from doing it. And it's a good thing because we already saw someone get sent out of the country and he was absolutely innocent. He got sent out for an administrative error, for allegations being affiliated with the gang. None of that was proven, all of that was wrong, and he got sent out. So this is just another case of that, where other than him being a pro-Palestinian supporter, which we can agree with, everything else that is being elicited was not going to be proven. If Donald Trump had the ability, he would have just sent him out. So there is a flaw in the logic because Donald Trump was stopped. This investigation you're talking about now might be happening. I think that is a very positive thing. It could be. I'm not going to say it isn't. But if he wasn't stopped by a judge, then it wouldn't have happened.
Here's the thing, and this is going to kind of breach into different territory, Patriot Act type stuff. He doesn't have to commit a crime to be deported, particularly if his, allegation is for supporting a terrorist organization, which is at this point irrefutable, even if he's not exactly
Irrefutable. Where's the evidence? Because I know MAGA loves to make up evidence.
exactly a
Where's the
terrorist,
evidence?
even if he's not blowing things up or anything like that. If he's a member of an organization at Columbia University, which itself on October 8th said, we are in full support of what is happening with Hamas. We support violent resistance or something like that.
So to Adam's point, if a government, the executive branch, if a presidential power has the authority to decide what group is a terrorist, and then has the authority to decide how much a person's affiliation with any group deems them a terrorist, if there is an organization that, if there's a president after Trump who deems that a group that you are in support of is a terrorist organization, how are we deciding who is a terrorist organization, who is in favor of these terrorist organizations, and what level threat they are? Because to me, it seems like a violation of his First Amendment right to speak on behalf of
You're making a weird face, but didn't he just, didn't he say stuff? You just admitted himself.
Your First Amendment right gets revoked the second that you incite violence onto another individual.
Did he incite violence?
That's
Wait, did we have any
issue.
proof of what
he supported the violence that has been done by Hamas.
I think it is dangerous to begin labeling and deporting people.
All right. Mahmoud Khalil. Did he support Hamas? Let's
on the
look
grounds
that
that
up.
they are a terrorist without due process. Because if any president can do that, then maybe the next president does that to people that you actively agree with. And maybe the next president isn't, I don't.
Well, did he label him a terrorist? I thought they
That's why he's being
I think the
detained
Trump
and
admin is labeling him,
Yeah.
but also I'm pretty sure he hasn't been charged. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's no charge. Isn't that odd?
No, he's never been charged with a crime.
Kinda scary.
Well, he's not an actual citizen, for one, and for
Still
two,
probably got
He
charged.
does have a green card, though.
He does have a green card, which they have the power to revoke. This is more of a question of how much do we want to allow the government to have power? Because I think what we might actually surprisingly all agree upon is that the government probably needs to have a little bit less power in this regard, in regards to citizens. I am not really in support of the government being able to say, oh, well, you're a terrorist, you're a terrorist, you're a terrorist, if you are a naturalized citizen.
Here's the hate for people coming in the country. Here we go.
Khalil was born in Syria. He came to America on a student visa and then acquired a green card, which is, hey, a great thing. But and I'm not saying he's a terrorist, but unfortunately the government has so much power that in the eyes of the government, supporting a group that itself issued a statement in support of a terrorist group, by extension, makes you not necessarily a terrorist, but able to be deported for terrorism.
I don't think that green card holders should have less constitutional rights than natural-born citizens.
Well, that's a fundamental disagreement.
Yeah,
The First Amendment.
Because fuck people who come in the country. Imagine being black and saying fuck brown people. That's tough.
Should apply to anybody.
I think that, yeah, exactly. I think that everyone who
does.
is here legally should be protected by the First Amendment, and that includes him.
Can you guys see where I'm coming from when I say this does worry me from the perspective of free speech in the First Amendment? Conservatives should know, or should love free speech more than anybody, apparently. It creates this chilling effect, almost, where people are scared to voice their opinion, and you probably shouldn't be voicing pro-Hamas opinions, but now what if there's a pro-Palestinian protester who's a little bit worried? It creates this chilling effect, and it's almost like a slippery slope. Not to use the slippery slope fallacy, but it does sometimes scare me when the government is, without even charging people, detaining them, because he didn't charge them.
No, and I know, but
detaining.
And this case is setting a precedent on what that means going forward. Right now it's Mahmoud Khalil, but who will it be next time?
And can I just say,
well, that already happened to January 6 prisoners. They did get charged.
So I want to make one detail clear, and then I'm trying to look up evidence about him being pro-Hamas that they're throwing out so confidently. So at the protest, so he led the protest, and he had two main demands in terms of the protest: that Colombia cut all its ties to Israel, including divesting and halting plans to build a global center in Tel Aviv, and that the protesters themselves receive amnesty for the actions. Those were his two demands for Colombia. Not pro-Hamas demands, definitely pro-Palestinian demands, though. I'll let it
but
continue.
so many of them were sitting without trial that we had to issue a blanket pardon because some of them hadn't
That
seen
is
the light
not
of
why
day.
there was a blanket pardon. They were not sitting there without a trial. They had due process just like everybody else. Can you guys name one J6er who didn't get due process?
Not off the top of my
Sorry
head
to put you on the spot like that,
necessarily.
but like, come on, if you're saying that these people aren't getting due process, there should be somebody who you have like a prime example, like a strong
There
example.
were individuals from J6 that were just released like a month ago because they've been in prison this entire time.
Is your source Truth Social? Because
Okay, well,
I
I can mention somebody.
One of my sources is someone that was actually there. Kind of how you guys are going along the lines of like people being afraid to speak out. I mean, that's how Republicans have felt for the last 4 years.
Yeah, don't cry me a river. Stop sounding like a bitch. Damn, I need to be a little bit more compassionate. But MAGA be pushing me off, bro.
Because we would speak out. You guys would be. Biden was on stage that was essentially comparing us to Nazis.
No, he
if
was
we
not.
support. Yes,
That's just not true.
he was.
What was the
we
line?
supported, but he was
Guys, we're doing
comparing
so
us.
good.
Well, I'm saying there's video evidence of it. He was comparing
No, there's not. This guy's MAGA. Why is he a conservative, bro?
MAGA believers to Nazis,
So to
and
my
I think
point-
that made us afraid. But I think that's why we have those definitions in line,
So to my
is to
point,
be able to have those checks.
Like if now if the next president is a Democrat and they label organizations that are speaking out in favor of the far right as terrorist, and any green card holder who speaks out in support of your causes is now a terrorist and can be detained and deported without due process, that would hurt your cause. So right now it's pro-Palestinian protests and it's pro-Hamas, but next time it can be anyone, and that's the fear.
And we all have the same color, so I know that we're at each other's necks a bit, but we all agree that definitionally he's not a terrorist. We all agree that the government should probably be a little bit more careful with who they choose to target and deport. I mean, hey, if there are conservatives being unfairly targeted by the government, I'm not okay with that. We've sat here and talked for a while now. You know that I'm genuinely not okay with the government censoring conservatives or all of these, whatever you guys think the Biden administration was doing. And yeah, so I mean, we can all agree that the government should probably be more careful when they're targeting people who were just protesting.
Luigi Mangione's journal, not manifesto, about healthcare industry grievances. Attorney argues. Was Luigi Mangione justified?
No, you being a vigilante, there's no justification in killing CEOs. Leftists and liberals, this is a layup to say there's no justification because this guy so bad wants you guys to say yes. He's so bad wants you to say yes.
3, 2, 1.
Damn it.
Ooh.
Oh.
Of course, the leftist activists. They can't be too surprised there.
Okay, so before you all attack the hell out of me, I want to say, Luigi Mangione hasn't been tried yet. The trial is not completed, and he is presumed innocent until proven guilty.
Okay. That's a pretty weak argument, I'm not gonna lie, but sure. Even though we all know he killed him, but okay.
So I think that going into this debate, like, it shouldn't be about whether or not he killed the CEO of United Healthcare, because we cannot claim that yet. And I've had a lot of
I'm fine with this passionate. I'm fine with it. It's possible that he actually is not the right guy. It's possible. So I'm fine with this argument. I'm fine with it. I innocent, like when we go down to the logistics, she's completely right about that.
discussions about Luigi Mangione under the presumption that he's done it and that he is the person who did it. And I'm not going to.
But he definitely did do it. He definitely did do it. Well, here's the thing. There's two separate things we can argue about. The legality of the trial, which we should probably stay away from, or the morality of what...
I don't want to argue about the morality of killing the CEO of healthcare, because I think it is immoral to kill anyone, regardless of your grievances.
about this at all.
What I think he is justified in is his grievances with the United States healthcare system.
Can we all agree with this fundamental fact? Like, he's justified in his grievances, as you said, about the healthcare system, not justified in the killing.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Luke, what do you... I see you sitting there. Healthcare is perfect?
Because therefore that was the reason that he killed him. And I don't think any reason to kill anybody is ever justified.
Well, that's what we're saying. We're saying that the...
You're a liar. That's not true at all. I hate when he says stuff that he doesn't believe. It makes his words so hollow. Saying that there's no justification for killing someone is just not true. Self-defense is legit a justification.
Killing is not justified, but if you separate the act from the reason for the act, I think that it is justified
think
to
it's
have
hard for me to-
grievances with the U.S.
I think it's hard for
health
me to
system.
separate that.
Well, here's the
That's
thing.
fair.
Here's the question.
That's fair.
Do you think the healthcare industry in America is kind of fucked?
That's basically what my decision
I mean, yeah, I think
Okay.
healthcare and insurance.
So he was
and all
justified to
that,
be
that's-
worried, but then everything he did after that. I guess the argument that I'd make for why you can't just kill people in the streets, which we all seem to agree on this, is that
I agree as well.
It weakens the cohesion of a society, number one. But number two, I think one of the beautiful things about America is that there are many avenues for our voice.
I'm looking for evidence of Mahmoud being like pro Hamas. I can't find anything. So if you can find something, let me know in the comment section. I'm going to read your article, and if it doesn't work, then I mean, again, there's no evidence
to be heard. So even if you don't vote, you can go out there and protest. You can call your representative. You can post online. There are 100 different ways for your voice to be heard, and none of those should include just murdering someone in the middle of the street. That's probably not an avenue that we should take in America. If you're living in like an authoritarian country and that's the last resort, that's a different conversation. But we live in America, and this dude seems pretty smart, right? Like Luigi Mangione could have just gotten a degree in medicine and just like helped people, actually helped people. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think with all this, the thing that's like, frankly, disgusted me the most is how many.
How many liberals defended him? That's exactly what he's about to say.
Targeting them, but it's just I've seen it the most is a lot of these liberal women are almost making him a hero, talking about how he was handsome, and it's almost like this.
He wanted so bad to debate this point with these guys. Even though everybody here disagreed, but he still wanted to say his piece. I mean, sure, yeah, it's weird. We agree. I mean, you're not getting backlash, but you had to shit on the liberals. I get it. Sure.
It's like weird fetish.
They did that with Ted Bundy too.
No,
It's not-
yeah, and I think
it's just a societal thing. like-
but it's. I mean, like, do we live in a society where it's like that stuff is celebrated? And I think that's what out of this whole thing, really like, it really disgusted me.
Did you notice the online reaction to Luigi Mangione? A lot of people in the comment section of videos were like, not supportive, but they understood where he was coming from, healthcare-wise.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people hide behind their screens and
For
say things
sure.
they wouldn't
But
say in
can you
You're not listening to him. This guy's such a bot, bro. I do not like this guy. I think he's so fake. I don't think he has any integrity. Personally.
Can you
I mean,
understand?
well, now we're here in person, and I
Yeah,
will say,
yeah.
as one of these liberal women, I do not support the killing of anyone.
Right.
I mean, he hasn't been tried yet, and I
Yeah.
don't want to make a claim to his guilt or innocence. With
I
that
respect
said,
that.
I do think that it's fair to have grievances with the United States healthcare system. It's
I
objectively
agree.
broken. I think that I know I've personally experienced issues with the healthcare system not providing for me in times when I really needed it. I'm sure many of you have and witnessed that within your families. And I think that the reasons that he was upset are very much valid. But what he did with that upset, with his anger, was not.
An interesting argument that I've heard is when you say that Luigi Mangione shouldn't be able to unilaterally kill anybody, people on the other side, I don't know if I agree with this, they'd say that Brian Thompson, the CEO, was making the
Yeah.
decision to kill people with his healthcare company. I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but if I want to provide the alternate argument of what people would say. What do you think about that, Chandler?
I think it's a very great. It's a very great. It's great that you mention it. I actually kind of want to ping this to Naima. Do you agree with that argument?
That Brian Thompson, I think that Brian Thompson arguably should have been tried. Like, I think that, again, going back to due process, Brian Thompson was denied his right to due process. Do I think that he was, like, somewhat responsible for the deaths of 400,000 people? Probably.
Probably, yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, great.
But at the same time, he shouldn't have just been shot dead in the street
Right.
because
Probably
of
not
that.
a cool
He should have
thing
been
to do.
tried and gone to jail.
With that information in mind, even though you're green, I think we probably might be able to come to a middle ground again of saying Luigi Mangione is justified in his grievance, not justified in the alleged murder.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Boom, we're done.
Alleged murder.
Handled.
Sure.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position to
this question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're
doing.
You're in no position to dictate.
Oh my God, this guy's getting hard on for Donald Trump right now. It's like, oh yes, Donald. Yes. Say it. Point at him again. Say it again. Jesus Christ.
What we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influenced.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and
of
he
the
happens
war.
to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I
You don't
was
have
in
the
it.
cards right now. With us, you start having
I'm not playing cards.
Right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think
You're gambling with World War III.
Okay, the question is Trump favoring Putin? 3, 2, 1.
Absolutely, of course.
Okay.
Trump is very clearly taking Putin's position on this war. He's very clearly playing hardball with Ukraine, and he's gotten nothing from Russia thus far. I think, just to zoom out for a second, Trump has a unique form of narcissism where he's attracted to powerful people. If you guys think he's not narcissistic, you guys are way behind us right now.
I think every politician's narcissistic.
Trump has Trump has a unique form of narcissism where he's attracted to powerful people. You can see this when he talks about his love letters with Xi Jinping or Kim Jong-un, or when he talks about Vladimir Putin. He comes up with nicknames for Trudeau, but what's his nickname for Putin? He has no nickname for Putin. This proves my point. This dude plays soft
Nicknames?
with Putin. Yeah, Trump's
that's what it's about. I mean, you could.
Oh my God, MAGA is so. The point was to emphasize a certain level of not commonality, but generalized appreciation, right? Or generalized dismay. The point is how they act in reference to the individuals being talked about. That was the point of bringing up the nickname point.
Say the same thing about Kim Jong-un. He calls him Rocket Man.
We're
Kim
talking about
Jong-un's
Putin right now. We're
relatively
talking about
powerful.
Putin right now.
Okay, the one person he doesn't have a nickname for. Same with Xi Jinping.
Because he has
nothing about Rocket Man.
Because he's attracted.
Rocket Man, is that supposed to be a negative nickname? Now, honestly, I don't think this nickname is the strongest point, but Rocket Man is. I don't know if Rocket Man is a negative nickname.
Power. Vladimir Putin is a source of narcissistic supply for Trump, and Zelensky has that lack of supply, so he feels like he can demean him. He feels like he can deride him in the Oval Office because he views Zelensky as weaker than Putin. This is how Trump operates. I would love to think that Putin has some sort of dirt on Trump, but that's not what it is. Trump has a narcissistic brain, and he's attracted to Putin. But if I can just say one more thing.
Let's go.
I think that Donald Trump is only legitimizing Putin's imperial ambitions when he tries to give a peace deal or sign a peace deal with no security guarantees. This whole debate should center around security guarantees, in my opinion. But
I mean, I think I don't like the word favor because it's like there's a positive connotation. I think what Trump's doing in his relationship with Putin is exactly what I would be doing as a businessman. I think as what he's doing.
I hate this guy. I really do. I don't like this guy. I think he's so disingenuous when he talks. I just don't like him. I don't like him at all. I'm gonna let them cook, and if I have something to say, I'll say it.
When you're making deals with business, it doesn't matter if you like someone or dislike them, you get along, you don't get along. The number one thing is to maintain a cordial relationship.
he didn't do that with Zelensky in the Oval Office.
Well, because here's the thing. If anything happens and things go south and we're at the brink of World War III, America is going to be a lot more afraid of Russia than they're going to be afraid of Ukraine.
You guys realize
Considering Russia is one of the powerhouses of the world, maintaining a cordial relationship with them is a lot more crucial than maintaining a relationship.
I'm hoping that they say the right things because there's so many ways to respond to this. But
this is
Ukraine.
just
Ukraine has just taken Ukraine has taken advantage of the United States, of our hundreds of billions of dollars, and they've done nothing with it. Zelensky's got all his flashy things, and he's been
such a
living
liar.
good life.
But how are they taking advantage? They're actively at war. They were attacked by Russia. That's
But
not
why
taking
is
advantage of
not
US
all that
aid.
money is being used
Well, can I
in
say
military and aid?
We're not sending money over there. 80% of what we sent are military. It's military equipment, old stockpiled equipment that we now don't have to dock out. I'm 80, about 80% of it. But here's the thing: it's stockpiled military
most of
equipment
it
that we
is
would have had to
older
dispose of
equipment.
anyways, and
Nice
it's
try,
very
though.
expensive to dispose of. It's toxic. This military equipment. So rather than disposing of it, we send it over to our allies, and our allies have been using it to protect their border against Russia. And I just want to say, we can all agree, if World War III does start, the onus would fall on Russia because they're the one that started this invasion, and likely Putin has more imperial ambitions. Can we just say that if World War III were to start, the onus would not fall on Ukraine?
I mean, I don't think there's any you can make that claim.
You can, very clearly.
I mean, if Russia
certainty.
openly attacks the Ukrainian border and begins a war that turns into World War III, it started with Russia's attack on Ukraine.
Okay, but I mean, I think in that instance, it's going to be important that we maintain a cordial relationship
I
with
disagree
Russia.
with this as well.
Well, now you're at war. You don't have to
Okay.
maintain a
Ru-
cordial
the
relationship.
idea
Yeah,
that
but it's
War,
better to
right?
be at war having cordial relationship with Russia versus Russia being
So he does not give a fuck about Ukraine. This guy's a piece of shit. I gotta calm down. But I hate this guy. I think he's a piece of shit. I do think so. So his logic is that it's in a situation where an objectively wrong country, a country that is doing evil deeds, if they do an evil deed, just because they have more power, the United States needs to be more cordial with them versus the people that they're doing the evil deeds on. You know how stupid that logic is? You know how flawed that logic is? That makes no sense. That's the equivalent of the idea that when Hitler took over or tried to take over so many different countries, or just make it very simple. When Hitler was doing what he did to the Jews, this guy's logic is, oh yeah, we got to be more cordial to Hitler because he has so much power versus the Jews. I'm sorry, they don't have enough power. Hitler has more power. We have to be more cordial to him. That's exactly what this guy is saying. There is no way of mischaracterizing it, and if he tries to weasel his way out of it, that's just him trying to not look bad. Because he made a argument in with the initial impression that I gotta defend my big daddy Trump who puts his dick in my ass. That is his initial impression. Then he came up with a stupid ass argument, and now this argument he has to stand 10 toes on. These people are fucking pathetic.
our enemy in
But
a
Russia is our
hopeful war
enemy.
that doesn't happen.
But if a country were to start World War III, I would hope that they would be the enemy of the United States.
And can I just
for
say,
starting a world war?
Well, I
right?
don't think Russia's a friend, but you need to have cordial relationships, just as we have with that we're hoping to have with China and these other powerhouses
So
in
it's
the
funny
world.
that you say that we need to have
Oh, she's about to say it.
cordial relationships with Russia.
But not
But when
Zelensky.
it came to Canada, we don't need to have cordial relationships, and it's okay to make jokes. When it comes to Ukraine, it's okay to make jokes, and we don't have to have cordial relationships, and it's okay to fight. So, I mean, that kind of goes into the point of him favoring him, because the only one who he is willing to have a cordial relationship with is Russia. But in all of these other instances, he's openly dismissive. He's openly offensive, he's openly insulting, and I think that that does show a sense of favorship.
All right, let's jump in on Trump.
All right. I think she's doing a good job at being like calm and collected, which I really respect. Um, she's doing a good job. She's doing a good job, even though she has more leftist ideals. Like we probably disagree with it. The way she's navigating the conversation and trying to be understanding is very appreciated.
And the Russia connection, because as cordial as it's kind of like an inverse thing. Like the more cordial Trump is with the country, the sterner he is with that country.
Really?
Yes. Vladimir Putin during the election cycle said he would have endorsed and voted for Biden if he could have.
Why is this kid such a bot? He obviously likes Trump more. Like, are we serious? He wanted you really think he wanted Biden over Trump? Like taking into the context of Trump and Putin's relationship versus Biden and Putin's relationship? Like, come on.
He's
And
playing
then,
games, dude.
okay,
He's Putin.
let me
It's
say this.
Putin.
Yes, it's Putin. But then at that same time, he said, okay, well, Kamala's here. She laughs funny. Biden endorsed her. I like her. At that same forum where he was speaking about this, when asked, how does this really affect you? Putin said, well, honestly, Trump was the worst for Russia. There was more sanctions and everything than we had ever seen. And Biden was way easier on Russia. At the same time that Biden was canceling the Keystone XL pipeline.
Biden was easier on Russia. Where is he getting this information? Hold on.
Was the worst for Russia. There was more sanctions and everything than we had ever seen. And Biden was way easier on Russia. At the same time that Biden was canceling the Keystone XL pipeline between America and Canada, he lifted the sanctions that Trump had placed on Russia, forbidding them from building the Nord Stream 2 pipeline between Russia and Germany. That was just a few months before Russia announced their invasion. invasion of Ukraine. I'm not trying to blame this at all on Biden. Obviously, what Russia is doing is wrong, and they are being very aggressive, and they are in the wrong on this. We all agree on that.
Yes.
But what I can
Okay.
also say is that Russia was capitalizing on what they viewed as a weak presidency
Nope.
to push forward into Ukraine.
Nope.
Just like they had with the Obama administration in Crimea.
So going
and
into
on
that,
top
if
of that,
Russia's capitalizing on what they view as a weak presidency, why would the response to that to be to exclusively be cordial with Putin and no one else?
because and like we've said many times, and like I just mentioned, is that when it comes to a fellow superpower, you have to tread lightly.
Other
And
than
it
Canada.
is, well, Canada's not really
Or
a thing.
China.
So, Russia's threat of a Ukraine invasion has brought heightened attention to a big infrastructure project, the Nord Stream 2 natural gas pipeline. The roughly 750-mile undersea pipeline would carry Russian natural gas to Germany, which is phasing out its use of coal and nuclear energy. The pipeline was completed in September 2021, but is not yet operational pending German regulatory approval. So it's not operational. Many of Germany's allies in the West, including the United States and the United Kingdom, expressed concerns about the pipeline's construction when it was announced in 2015, warning that it could hand Russia geopolitical leverage over Germany and other European nations. Those concerns have continued amid the current Russian troop buildup on Ukraine's borders. The United States and members of the European Union have pressured German leaders to say they will block use of the pipeline if Russia invades. The fight over Nord Stream 2 has spilled over into U.S. partisan politics. In a February 8 Facebook post, Kayleigh McEnany, a former press secretary for then President Donald Trump, applauded Trump's efforts to block the pipeline while he was in office and accused his successor, Biden, of handing the pipeline over to Russia. He said, and I quote, "President Trump sanctioned Russia, President Biden gave them a pipeline, and here we are." McKinney's dichotomy is exaggerated. The first part of her statement has some validity but ignores that both presidents have sanctioned Russia without stopping the project. The second part is flat wrong. Has a point that Trump did continue existing sanctions against Russia in addition to imposing new ones. So he continued existing ones from Obama and then imposed new ones on his own. Trump continued many of the policies toward Russia that had begun under his predecessor Obama, particularly after Russia annexed the Crimea region of Ukraine in 2014. So his claim about Obama allowing him to have Crimea is a lie. For instance, Trump kept in place the Magnitsky Act, which targeted high-ranking Russians with sanctions. The administration also put new sanctions on 5 Russians and Chechens over human rights abuses, and it approved lethal arms sales to Ukraine, which Obama had not. Trump also signed a bill in August 2017 that targeted Russia's energy and defense sectors with sanctions. However, experts said the 2017 legislation passed with overwhelming bipartisan support, in part due to widespread concerns that Trump was too cozy with Russia and Putin. Trump's early fawning of Putin sent strong signals that U.S. would not be pursuing a tough policy towards Russia, said Suzanne Wangel, a University of Notre Dame political scientist. Congress felt they had to get involved because both parties feared Trump could not be trusted with Russia, and they didn't want to leave him the unilateral power to end sanctions via executive order, said another political scientist. Yoshiko M. Herrera, University of Wisconsin-Madison political activist. When it came to sign the bill, Trump did so grudgingly and called it seriously flawed. Trump said it was seriously flawed. Let's just remember that. McKinney, though, a spokesperson at Fox News, where she's a commentator, also pointed to a 2019 law signed by Trump authorizing new sanctions on Russia related to Nord Stream 2. The sanctions were imposed on any company helping Russia finish the pipeline construction. Sanctions were imposed on any company helping Russia. There. That's a good sanction. Oh, also, the website I'm getting is from statesman.com, Austin American Statesman. That's the article I'm reading. These sanctions convinced a Swiss company involved in the construction to exit the project with about 6% of the pipeline unbuilt. A Russian company finished the remainder of the work in late 2020 and early 2021. Now, how does Biden's policies compare to Trump's? For the most part, Biden has continued the sanctions imposed by his predecessors and added new ones, similar to what Trump did for Obama. For instance, Biden issued an order in April 2021 that prohibited U.S. financial institutions from trading ruble denominated bonds linked to a variety of Russian entities and sanctioned 6 technology companies with links to Russian intelligence. And in May 2021, the US imposed new sanctions on Russia, shipping, and other entities involved in the pipeline project. However, in the course of pursuing US diplomatic goals, the Biden administration has sought some flexibility. Now, this might be where you can criticize them. In May 2021, for instance, the administration waived sanctions on the companies spearheading Nord Stream 2, as well as the CEO, arguing that a waiver was in the U.S. national interest. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken cited Biden's pledge to rebuild relationship with our allies and partners in Europe, a position widely seen as an effort to nudge Germany to curtail the pipeline without alienating the United States' longtime ally. The Biden administration claimed this compromise was needed to repair relations with Germany, said Peter D. Fever, a Duke University political scientist. So he waived sanctions on the company spearheading. So he waived sanctions on the German company that spearheaded Nord Stream 2 and its CEO. So he's talking about the German company. All right, let's continue. McKinney added the congressional Republicans had sought to stifle sanctions related to Nord Stream 2 over the opposition of the Biden administration. The issue came to a head in January 2022 when the Senate failed to reach the required 60 votes to advance legislation sponsored by Senator Ted Cruz that would have accelerated sanctions related to Nord Stream 2. Cruz's legislation was backed by every Senate Republican except for Rand Paul of Kentucky and won the support of a half a dozen Democrats, but every other Democrat opposed it, following the lead of the administration, which argued that the bill would have complicated U.S. diplomacy. Biden couldn't give pipeline to Russia. Trump was president through January 2021, so the vast majority of its construction occurred while he was president. A tiny portion was completed on Biden's watch. It is absolutely wrong to say that any president gave Russia a pipeline. Nord Stream 2 is a bilateral project between Germany and Russia, so the U.S. can only stop it using indirect leverage. It has been mainly Germany's decision, so I don't see how one can interpret Nord Stream 2 as a gift from Biden. All we can do is pressure Germany to not allow it to become operational. Trump's ambassador to Germany, Richard Grenell, urged Germany to stop construction of the Nord Stream 2, but his urging went unheeded. It didn't help that Trump had frayed relations with Germany, leaving the U.S. with virtually no leverage. Of course, Biden prioritized improving relations with Germany, but has faced obstacles in convincing Germany to forego the pipeline. And emeritus professor of government, blah, 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 foreign service at Georgetown University, administration might be making some headway. Biden met. Okay. All right. So here's the verdict. You know, I like context, right? Here's the verdict. Most of the construction was done under Trump's administration, but Trump did try to prevent its construction. It was mostly due to a deal between Germany and Russia, who was leading the pipeline's construction. Now, Biden also had sanctions, and then he added more sanctions on Russia. So in terms of number of sanctions on Russia, Biden had more. However, when it came to Germany's sanctions, he wanted to ease sanctions on Germany, but the problem is Germany was in cooperation with Russia. So ultimately, it's Germany's fault. Now, whose fault it is that this pipeline got constructed? I mean, the U.S. could only do so much. Could you have argued that Biden shouldn't have released or lightened sanctions? Sure, but most of the pipeline was already done by then. Even Trump's sanctions did not stop them from creating the pipeline. So, I just had to get the full context. This guy's characterization is incorrect. He just repeated a quote that some MAGA guy said. Of course he did. So I'm glad we got the full context. I'm glad we got the full context of what happened. Sorry, it took a while, but that seemed like a pretty crazy accusation to say Joe Biden's at fault. And I really wanted to know what actually happened.
Or
Canada's
China.
not really a
Or
superpower.
Canada's
Or
not an
China's
a
adversary.
superpower.
Canada is
Canada.
not a
I know, but I'm
superpower.
saying China.
So
So-
can I just debunk the idea that Biden was
Canada is definitely a superpower.
way stronger on, or sorry, can I debunk the idea that Biden was less strong on Russia? Russia was frozen out of the global order for the past 3 years. Nobody would talk or meet with Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin was literally like pushed out. They were shutting him.
Yes.
Trump has already brought him back into the fold. And what has he gotten? Trump has gotten tricked by Putin. Trump stopped sharing intelligence, U.S. intelligence with Ukraine. You remember that happening a few days ago, right?
Keep going.
Right when Trump stopped sharing U.S. intelligence with Ukraine. Say yes, that happened, right?
Keep going.
Just say yes, that happened.
No, but just keep going. I'm trying to hear you out here because I have something I want to say.
Putin took
but-
advantage of that opportunity to push forward. He literally made Trump look like an idiot. Trump stopped intelligence sharing. Putin took advantage of that. Off the back of that, he killed hundreds of Ukrainians. So the idea that Putin is negotiating in good faith is dumb. The idea that we should have a cordial relationship with Putin, who his entire existence is antithetical to the West, to our ideals.
And you know what's funny? Just recently, Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump said he was angry with Putin based on how negotiations have been, which is hilarious.
Putin's to his very core. Like if you did surgery and looked into this guy's heart, he's just anti-Western.
Look at the way Zelensky came into the Oval Office. One, this is something that I kind of take to heart.
Okay, he's about to push huge Russian propaganda. He's about to go super Russian propaganda. Here we go. Let's get the Russian propaganda. Let's do it.
He comes in and he's not even wearing a suit. He's not coming in showing.
Yo, you're such a bot, bro. You're such a bot. This guy is such a bot.
Respect to these individuals. He's making jokes with the conversation with Trump.
Zelensky is an elected
and so it's like this guy, not just an actor politically, he literally is an actor. His background is an actor.
Number one, so
he's
is Trump.
putting on a show throughout
So is
the
Ronald
thing.
Reagan, by the way,
So is
but-
Trump as like a reality show guy, but does it equally bother you when Elon Musk leads a cabinet meeting with a baseball cap on and like a meme T-shirt that says like "I am become meme," whatever the hell it said? Does that bother you equally? He's leading a cabinet meeting.
Elon Musk is not the
Oh, so
governor or what? Sorry, a president of it.
Okay, double standards. This guy is pathetic. I hate this guy. He's a piece of garbage. I swear to God, he's a piece of garbage.
Nation.
But you just said
He's
that it's
pretty dumb.
disrespectful when someone doesn't wear a suit in the Oval Office, and every single
Not
day
in the Oval Office
Elon Musk doesn't
specifically.
wear
I'm
a
And by
just
the
suit.
saying when
way,
you're meeting with
Zelensky
these
is-
individuals
So
about
when you're
such
meeting
a,
with Trump, you should wear a suit.
And-
Unless you're Elon Musk.
Unless
I
you're
think
Elon
when
Musk.
you're the president of a country and you're meeting involving something as serious as this,
War.
and to be honest, Elon Musk is a character. It doesn't excuse it, but Elon Musk is.
You just said
Elon
Zelensky's
Musk.
character. Well, do you know why?
You
Zelensky
just
doesn't wear a suit?
excuse it, you
It's because
piece of
his
garbage.
country is in war and he wants to show solidarity with the people on the front lines. You want him to. You know what was so funny? If Zelensky walked in there with a suit on, I guarantee Luke would be saying, "Look, Zelensky's spending all of our money on these lavish suits. Look at this."
No, I would.
No
I
matter
would
what
actually
would
probably-
happen.
I wouldn't look up to
But
him,
can
but
you-
I'd have a little bit more.
I
Can you
would
understand-
admire that because last time he showed up without a suit on, Trump said, "Hey, come back next time with a suit." It would have shown good faith. It would have shown that Zelensky is actually.
You don't
trying
think
to push
Zelensky's in
this
good
war.
faith? Zelensky's the one who agreed to the peace deal this week, and who didn't?
I think Zelensky's a joke.
So this is all just incredible.
Of course you do, because you're fucking
right-wing propaganda. Can I ask
yo.
you, do you understand why
MAGA
Zelensky
pisses
cannot
me
sign a
off.
peace deal without security guarantees?
What I understand is that we have given billions upon billions of dollars in the form of weapons and
You got to be a
research and-
politician, bro. You're
yeah.
weaving around my
Okay,
question.
Yeah,
no,
can you just answer his
Yeah,
question?
can you answer my question? You just give me
well,
a
'cause
direct answer. Do you understand why
You've
security
given
guarantees
zero
are
direct
important?
answers for most
Ask
of
me
the
whatever,
points we
man.
brought up.
Ask me
Why
whatever.
is it
You
that
can answer it.
America?
I don't
Why
know.
is it
You
that
can
America
tell me.
is almost unilaterally in support of Ukraine?
We are not. The EU, the European Union has put in more than us.
Yeah, maybe if you combine it all, maybe possibly, but like this has been almost entirely us. And we're
Other than
try-
the fact that
we're-
if you
we're-
combine it
we're
all,
try-
that
and
you
we're
just
trying to
So he lied and then got caught lying and then he tried to pivot. It's
spread this
crazy.
around. We're trying to make it so that this isn't just going to continue going on forever. Because if we want it to go on forever, that's just going to kill millions upon millions of people. And the
You don't
one thing
care
that we
about
want
the
to happen
lies.
is
Shut
for
up.
less people to die. We want this war to end. And you guys were saying, oh, well, Trump said he would end the war on day one. It's not as simple as that. And I think it wasn't a good thing for Trump to campaign on these things ending on day one. But what I think is, yeah.
There you
But
go.
yes, I'm going to be honest with you here. Russia is in such a position that unless you want to start World War III right now, they're going to get
You
something.
likely have to give Russia some land, yes,
Yeah.
but you also have to give Ukraine some security guarantees at the same time. And I keep
and
saying
I
that.
don't disagree with you.
But,
and I
but
think it
Trump,
would be great.
Trump refuses to give explicit security guarantees. All he did was this mineral deal
He
where
says
he
he-
gets half of Ukraine's mineral.
See, I feel like sometimes this kid's smart, but he's so loyal to Trump that his brain is not allowed to reach the levels of epiphanies that can really just open up who this kid can be. It's just he agrees that they should be security guarantees, but then instead of going like, "Oh yeah, I agree," he tries to defend the actions first. That was his. It's so
minerals,
disappointing.
and there are no actual explicit guarantees. That's basically just conning Ukraine. Like, hey, I know that you're in the middle of a war, I know that your country's being destroyed, but we want half of your resources, and in return, you get nothing.
Okay, I think that the general thing that we can all agree on is that war is bad. We do not want to see Putin invade Ukraine anymore. We do not want to see the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people, and we hope that Putin will agree to a ceasefire deal and honor that agreement.
I agree. You agree?
Sounds good.
Yes.
We're all on the same page.
Okay.
Is Elon Musk's Doge a benefit to America? 3, 2, 1. So, from our red people here, I kind of want to get an understanding of what you guys consider a benefit to America, because I know what DOGE has done, and I'm trying to understand what you guys think has been harmful. So, for instance, Trump said during the joint session of Congress, $8 million to cut trans.
Oh my God! Oh yeah, Trump said this, even though he was lying. He was lying. But okay, I'll let them respond, and if they don't
Transgender
cover it,
mice,
I'll,
and people
I'll
said,
cover
oh, it's transgenic. It was actually $8 million for transgender mice. Numerous other things, for instance, the Social Security going to somebody that was the age of 320 years old. That was real. We did eliminate that, and we're tracing to where that money has gone. How is this not a benefit when we see that if you add all these things up, it is billions upon billions of dollars worth of savings?
First of all, they have not illustrated that it was billions and billions. We can talk about that more, but I think that Elon Musk is unreliable and he's reckless in what he's doing. So I want more government efficiency. We can all agree, step one, we all want the government to be more efficient. No one wants there to be waste, fraud, and abuse. So we can all start with that axiom, right? But the way that Elon Musk is doing it is not only reckless, but it's illegal. Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse. So when Elon Musk is using the executive branch to cut things and shutter entire agencies like USAID, you are subverting Congress. You are subverting their power of the purse. That's why people are
he's
in those town
cooking.
halls of people yelling at their
I
representatives.
do also want to say you gave a lot of examples that were on cutting aid and subsidiaries to non-American. Like USAID is not working on actively this country, but Doge has also fired a significant number of VA workers. Doge has also fired a significant number of FAA workers. Doge has fired a significant number of national parks workers. Doge has fired a significant number of IRS workers. I mean, Doge is not just cutting USAID, but what Doge has not done is taken away money that was going towards subsidiaries for Tesla, which I think is kind of interesting and very much a conflict of interest on Elon Musk's part. I also, to the point about the transgender mice, can we just clear this up? Transgenic.
Yes, sir.
Not the
Transgenic,
same
but
thing.
they actually
But, I
work
mean,
for transgender mice.
No, it's not
You-
transgender.
yes,
it's transgenic.
I know,
Which is
but
not
even if
the
we
same
back up,
thing.
though,
studies, there was one for transgender mice.
Even if we back up, what else are you going to do studies on? You do studies on mice. This is what you do. I mean, you do them on animals. You guys are acting like transgender mice is absurd in and of itself, but you can say like, oh, $4 million for Adderall mice. Yeah, they were doing Adderall studies on animals, but
if it was that, maybe it would have been more acceptable.
But that is what it
you
is.
need
Because the
research.
definition, hold on, pause.
Okay.
The definition of transgenic is not the same as transgender.
Oh, I
They are
know.
not
They're two
transitioning-
separate studies.
Can I
There
finish
was one for transgender
talking?
mice.
Can I finish talking?
If you want to.
Thanks. They are not the same thing.
like
Transgenic
her.
does not mean transgender. What transgenic is doing is putting DNA of humans into mice so that we can study the effects of different medicines on mice and how they would act on the human body. That is a necessity because I would like to take medicine that is affecting me in the way that the medicine is supposed to. And we need to have studies that do that. So going away from the transgenic mice, I do want to address, like Doge fired the workers who protect our military codes, specifically the nuclear launch codes, and then had to rehire all of them because no one else knows how to do that. That is inefficient. To fire workers without actually understanding what they do, only to realize that we actually need them, is inefficient.
Can I build on
think
top of
She's
that?
cooking.
Please do.
If you guys wanted to
Did you guys
keep
hear
Oh
about
my
the nuclear
God.
stockpile story? Because you listed all of your stories. Did you hear about the nuclear stockpile story in
I'm
particular?
not familiar with it. Why
Okay, so
surprise me?
Doge and Elon Musk fired a bunch of
Kid's so
nuclear stockpile
smug.
workers, as
Yes.
Naima said, and then they
Kinda
realized
respect it,
24
I'm not
hours
gonna
later,
lie.
you can look this up.
I
These were
respect the
uniquely
confidence.
qualified, highly specialized people who were maintaining and taking care of our nuclear stockpiles. So the Friday, they fired them on Thursday. They reached back out on Friday, but the nuclear stockpile people were locked out of their federal emails, so there was a bunch of downtime where our stockpiles couldn't be maintained. Two questions: is that efficient, and is that helping America?
No.
Okay, so okay, she's answering.
I just
or-
want to talk because you mentioned about it being illegal. So it actually is not illegal what he's doing. This was brought into law by Obama's administration. It's what we call is a special agency employee, special government employee. And so presidents have the right to appoint individuals to advise them throughout their administration. They get a 130-day period to basically run out their tasks. The only point of which what Elon is doing would be illegal is if he extends that 130 days. And so
Having an advisor the black kid is so much more bearable than this guy because he just lies, mischaracterized, disingenuous. His examples are so awful and just it's a terrible comparison. I feel like everything he gets his information from is on social media. At the very least, the kid looks into some stuff. He has I respect it to an extent. I think sometimes he's a bit he's kind of bottish, but this guy I do think is garbage. I don't like him. I think he's bad. Um hopefully someone brings it up in this video that having an advisor and have someone being an unelected individual that is firing people, two completely different things.
President Biden had the same what they call unelected bureaucrats. I forgot her name. Anita Dunn was like his right-hand woman.
His advisor, yeah.
She was doing exactly what Trump is doing in the advising sense.
Well, can I just
Oh, he
clarify? My
got it.
contention wasn't with the fact that Elon Musk is an advisor for 130 days. It's that he's going around Article 1, which says that Congress can appropriate and allocate funds as Congress deems necessary. Congress has the ability to allocate funds with the power of the purse. Elon Musk unilaterally using the executive branch to shutter agencies like USAID or
Wait,
other
he's
agencies.
not the one making the cuts.
He is.
Yes, he is. He's the head of Doge. He's head of the department that's making the cuts.
Is he?
No,
him and his Doge
he's-
squad.
okay.
he's advising.
Oh, so it went through Congress.
He's advising.
Oh, so if it didn't go through
Yo, this guy is. Yo, he's legit.
Congress,
He's
that's illegal.
advising to the elected officials that are allowed to be making these
So
cuts.
who fired?
The USAID workers.
Okay.
Yes, who fired them? Who was it?
It wasn't Congress.
He advised for the firing.
So it was the
Who did
executive
it?
He
branch.
didn't do the actual firing.
So he advised his like 18-year-old Doge dudes, or who did the firing? Because it was the
Whoever the
executive
elected
branch.
official is that's ahead of it.
Him.
who
Yo, I hate this guy. He's so. Oh my god. I need to stop. I sound whiny, but I hate him so much. I hate his guts.
who
So
happens
if,
to be
if
President
he was
Donald
the
Trump.
one coming in and doing the cuts, that would constitute a need for an elected official. He's
He,
simply advising these individuals to do that.
Okay. But here's the thing. Okay, so for the nuclear thing,
Yeah, yeah.
that is bad. And
bad.
it's great. And I'm going to agree with you right there. And I think it's
appreciate
great that you mention it. And I think it's great that we can acknowledge that, oh my gosh, if we cut things that don't need to be cut, we need to figure out and make sure those things are not cut. Here's the problem. The government is so massive and so wasteful and so inefficient that it is almost impossible to tell the fat from the muscle here. We can't tell what's actually important and what's actually pushing our nation forward and worthy of tax dollars versus what is, something that's condoms for Africa, if that makes sense. But the bigger point here, and your point about Article 1 is completely moot because here's the thing. Article 1 is important because, yes, Congress is the purse of the country, but they give money to the executive branch for the executive branch to operate. Who is the leader of the executive branch? The President of the United States. President Obama and Vice President Joe Biden created the Campaign to Cut Waste in 2011.
I think I'm going insane. I'm gonna stop watching this video. I'm going insane. They do take a while to come out with videos. There's so much stuff that's happened, but to be fair, it has to get all the editing and all that stuff. Overall, I think this was a good conversation between these three. I think this guy just said nonsense the entire video, and I don't know why they portrayed him as a conservative. He's freaking MAGA. That Jubilee, that's lazy. Ultimately, I really like the idea. I like the premise. I really wish, pushing this want to be in a Jubilee video. I really wish I need to be more sure that I can engage in good faith with these individuals. That's what I need. So here's my declaration. In the next year, I'm going to ensure myself as a content creator, someone who has a podcast, Purple Political Breakdown. Make sure you guys go check it out. I gave a lot of great political information. I'm going to do my best, despite my visceral, borderline hatred for some MAGA individuals. I'm going to do my best to be more sympathetic. I'm going to do my best to be more not understanding. I understand everything and I think it's stupid. But I have to resonate with the emotion a little bit better. And I'm going to try to every time I do this, I'm going to pick up my phone and watch a little Disney clip to bring me back to earth. Overall, this video it was all right. With that said, hope you guys enjoyed. You have a good one. Take care. Peace.